My full name is Per Anton Sommernes. P-E-R, and then Anton A-N-T-O-N, and surname Sommernes S-O-M-M-E-R-N-E-S.
Excellent. What is your birthday?
21st of May, 1932.
So now you are 87?
Yes, sir.
And where were you born?
I was born in a town called Sarpsborg.
Could you spell it?
In Norway.
Could you spell it?
S-A-R-P-S-B-O-R-G.
Okay. And tell me about the family background when you were growing up, your parents and your siblings, if there were any.
My father was a missionary in China. And my mother was the daughter of a pastor.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
I am the youngest of 5 brothers, and I am the last one living.
So your family has a very strong Christian background.
Yes, sir.
Are you Christian too?
Yes.
Very good. Tell me about the schools you went through.
In Norway, we have a different level. I went through when you start as 6 years old, you know, and then middle school, and then what is the English version? It's high school.
High school.
And after I retired from my job, I studied law at the university in Oslo.
So you are the lawyer?
I finished when I was 75 years old, so I was too late to make a career out of but I have several family members who were lawyers, so I was interested in law, and that's why it was more like a hobby than, yeah.
Wow, that's a very passionate that you finished your law degree at 75 years old?
Yes.
Amazing.
But, you know, my oldest son studied law. My oldest daughter, she is a nurse, but after I finished, she got my books and she studied law and took exam too. And my youngest daughter is a nurse. And then my wife Berit and I, we have 2 sons together. Oldest one is a surgeon, and the youngest one took over my wife's medical practice. So he is working as a medical doctor together with his wife, who also is a medical doctor.
So wonderful story.
Yeah.
What is your specialty as a medical doctor?
General practitioner.
General practitioner. Very nice.
Yes.
And how old were you when German occupied Norway?
You know, this was during the Second World War, and Germany occupied Norway on the 9th of April 1940.
So you were about 8 years old.
Yes. And at that time, I was in China,
You were in China?
Yes.
With your father?
My parents went to China in 1934. I was then 2 years old. And it was the intention to stay in China for 6 years and then come back because two of my brothers were left behind with their grandparents. So they longed to come back. But the Second World War prevented them from doing so. So it took 12 years before we could come back. So 27th of January 1946, we came back to Norway.
1936?
46.
46, right.
46, yes.
Yeah. So you must be able to speak Chinese then?
I have forgotten most of it, I'm afraid. I was 14 years old when I came back, and my fellow pupils in the school, they called me a Chinese, and I wanted to be a Norwegian. So even though my parents spoke Chinese to me at the dinner table, I refused to talk back. So quickly I forgot most of it, I'm afraid. I'm a little bit ashamed that I did so, but it would have been wonderful if I had been able to talk it fluently today.
So how was it under the German occupation? What did you think about it? How was it?
I think that the German Chancellor Hitler, in a way, he liked Norway, and so the Germans did not treat Norway as badly as they did in several other countries. But still, they deported all the Jews in Norway, so they were taken to concentration camps in Germany, and most of them were killed by the Germans. Of course, they were not kind. They were forcing the Norwegians to do as they wanted. But our king and his family went to England during the war and talked on the radio to the Norwegians and kept the Norwegian spirit going.
Good. So did you go to school under the German occupation?
Yes, during the German occupation, I was in China, So.
But when you came, okay, so 46, right?
Yes.
All right.
So the Second World War ended in June 1945.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when did you finish your high school?
Oh, that must have been in 1952.
1952, you graduated high school.
Yes.
And in the school, did you learn anything about Korean history or culture or anything like that?
That I'm afraid to say that I knew nothing about Korea, and I think that was also the same for most Norwegians. We had hardly heard about the country. So we should have learned it in the geography lessons, but I'm afraid I did not know about Korea until the Korean War started, and the news was all over the country. And as I grew older, and it was advertised for Norwegian to go to Korea, I applied because I wanted to go to the Far East.
You wanted to go?
Yes.
Because you were there in China, right?
Yes. I had a Chinese background, and I did not have sufficient qualifications to go to Korea, but I think my background from China was interesting, so they accepted me as an employee.
How did it promote it? How was it advertised to recruit the volunteers?
There was in all the newspapers, and it was on the radio, and so it was well known, and the Norwegians applied, very many applied, and I think when I was accepted, it was 100 applicants, and I was chosen, I think, solely because I had this Chinese background.
You are the only one was chosen?
I was one of 100, yes.
Okay. And why was it so kind of popular for Norwegians to apply for this war? I mean, this is war, serious business. People can be killed. Why?
Yes. You know, at that time, the General Secretary for United Nations was a Norwegian.
Norwegian, yeah.
And the same day the Korean War started, he worked with the Norwegian government to send participants to help South Korea. So he made it popular to go there, and it was the ones that was chosen to go there was very proud of being chosen. And I think all the Norwegians that were accepted and went there, they have never repented going there. So the Norwegian, you know, Norway had a hospital, a military hospital, Nordmarsk,
Yep.
near the front line. And that's why it was working during the war.
Did your parents say anything about your volunteering for Korea? Didn't they say no to you? Don't go, it's a war.
I went to them and I said, I want to go to Korea, but I hope for your support. And I think they at first were a little bit shocked. But my father gave me a few days to think about it. And then he came back and excuse me.
Take your time. That reminds you of your father?
Yes. And after a few days, he said, my mother, your mother and I we have prayed to God to try to get an answer.
Mm.
And we have come to that we will not oppose your going there. I will wish you all the best.
Did you get an answer from God?
I think so, in a way.
Good. You need?
Thank you. Thank you.
It must be a difficult decision, right? The parents sending his own and their own child to the area that might be being killed. So it must be a very difficult decision.
I think because of their background, they had left Norway to go to China to become missionaries, and so in a way they made some sort of a comparison, I think.
Yes. By the way, how was life in China? Must not been easy for your father to work on Christianity in China at the time, right?
No, my father went to China in 1915, and he started a mission at a new place. And the name of the city is Ankang, nearly in the middle of central China. It had been for several years missionaries from New Zealand and from England trying to make a foothold for Christianity, but it was a very difficult place, and my father was warned against going there, but the New Zealanders and the English, they went away, and my father continued their work. So after 30 years of working, it was about 300 Christians in Ankang. And then, in 1949, Mao Zedong sent all the missionaries out of the country, and the mission was closed.
Yeah, go ahead.
But after Mao Zedong died, it was opened up again. And when the mission was opened again, there were 3,000. It had been underground Christians working for keeping this going. And now there are several churches, and in a way it is exploding.
Yes, I know well about that too. So your father did a great job. And how was China to you? How was it being China? You have a very exceptional experience. I don't think many Norwegian teens have such opportunity to live in China.
No, I had friends, and I grew up with Chinese boys and girls at my age. So I love China, and I love the Chinese. So to jump many years forward, the company I was working for sent me to Hong Kong to start a company. And I worked in Hong Kong for a year for this company, again due to my Chinese experience.
Excellent. But in the end, you went to Korea.
Yes.
And your enemy was, one of the enemy was Chinese soldier.
Yes.
What about that? Ironical.
It was, yes. It was, I think, near the end of the Korean War, the Chinese were very aggressive. They tried to push the 38 parallel
Even an inch.
south. And our hospital, Normarsh, got a lot of patients. And it was one night, the whole camp was called together, and the administration said, tonight or in a matter of a few days, we may be overrun by the Chinese, and we have to decide who shall escape and who have to stay to take care of the patients. And
wow.
at that time, I took the decision, I am going to stay.
That must have been really difficult.
Because I was the only one that could communicate with them. And so I thought I might
Have a chance.
have a chance to do something good.
What were you thinking? I mean, you must have been afraid, first of all, and you used to live in China. You love China, you have lots of friends there, but now they are the enemies. They might kill you, they've been killing all the people. We killed them too, but so what were you thinking? How was it?
You know, even they were fighting in Korea, I never got the feeling to hate them. In a way, I couldn't forget my old friends. So not everybody in China are bad, and so that's why I was thinking that this will end one day.
And to be, unfortunately, that hatred, that tension and conflict, sense of conflict and sense of enemies never ended in Korean Peninsula between Chinese, Americans, and all these people. There are still struggle to find a way to end the Korean War. And hasn't been finished, hasn't been replaced by the peace treaty either. And so that the problems in the Korean Peninsula are still right there. What do you think? How do you think we can solve this problem?
If I had a good solution, I think maybe somebody else would have thought about it before. But I still believe that a situation like it is today cannot continue forever. So it may still take some time, but I think there are good signs that it will gradually be better.
I learned just from you that I think we better build better and good relationship with so-called enemies so that we can defeat those hatreds among us, right?
Yes.
So good things will overcome the bad things.
Yes.
Is that kind of line of thinking?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because nobody likes going around and hate things. It's not a good feeling.
That is right. So what kind of training did you receive to go to Korea? What was your specialty? And tell me about when you joined, the date, if you remember, and where you got what kind of training program.
I was sent to Korea as to the Norwegian Mobile Army Surgical Hospital as a male nurse. And I had no experience in that kind of work. So when the ceasefire stopped, I had a chance to be moved to the headquarters because I thought that the male nurse part of my work was not sufficiently good. I thought I was better in the office. And so I was an office assistant for a few months. And then the adjutant in the headquarters was to go home. So I applied. The agreement was all the people sent to the hospital was for 6 months. So after 6 months, I was appointed adjutant with a rank of second lieutenant. And then after another 6 months, the liaison officer with the headquarters, UN headquarters in Tokyo, was vacant because the man working there at that time was finished with his period. And I applied and I got that job. So I was also a liaison officer in Tokyo for another 6 months. So I had, you can say, 4 kind of jobs during my period out there.
Yeah, but my question was, when did you join the Norwegian MASH unit in Norway? And did you receive any training to be a male nurse?
Yes.
When did you join the volunteer here in Norway?
It was in, I applied in a year before, it was in 1952. 1952. And I went out there in May 1953.
So here, when you joined the NORMASH, where did you go and what kind of training did you receive? Because you didn't know anything about medics, right?
No.
So tell me about that, please.
I had no training as a medical nurse. So I still remember I was placed in a department of the hospital to take care of patients that already had been operated on, post-op. And the first day I gave penicillin shots for 38 patients. And I did not know how to do that. So I asked one of the others, how do I do this? Yes, you divide the back in 4 pieces and then you put the needle on the upper part and push the needle in and give the penicillin.
That's it.
Yes, that's it. So I think
push it and inject.
Inject, yes. I think that some of the patients did not exactly love my kind of
practice.
No.
I know penicillin shot is kind of painful.
At that time, in the 1950s, penicillin was saved a lot of people.
People, yes.
Today they are reluctant to use it, you know.
Now we have a lot of antibiotics.
Right.
Yes. So you got that hospital training, right?
Yes.
As a soldier or what?
As a soldier.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Were you paid?
Yes. Oh, the Norwegian.
How much were you paid?
Oh, I think it was $50 per month.
Even in Norway, when you were trained in hospital?
No, I was not trained in Norway. That's it.
Where did you got the training? Hospital?
I got the training in Korea.
So you went to Korea without any knowledge or any experience as a nurse,
Right.
but you learned everything in MASH unit.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
That's bad.
I did not kill anybody.
I know, but still, you didn't have any experience.
Yes.
So actually, when did you leave Norway to Korea?
In May 1953.
53. And how did you get there?
Yeah, I flew from Oslo to Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
and then from Alaska to the Aleutian Islands, and then from Aleutian Islands to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo to Seoul.
Where did you arrive in Seoul? Was it Gimpo or what is it? K16?
No,
Gimpo? Mm-hmm. And do you remember the date that you arrived in Seoul, Korea?
Wow, I think it took altogether 3 days, so it must have been 26th of May 1953.
53.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about Korea. You were in China, but you never been into Korea. You didn't know much about Korea. When you arrived in Korea, what was your image? What did you see? Please describe in details. What did you see? How did you feel about it? How was the situation in Korea?
You know, to arrive in Seoul, and we were put on a truck to be taken to the camp. So we went through Seoul from Gimpo, and we saw only destruction. We hardly saw a house that were not either totally ruined or partly ruined. And at that time there was only one bridge, and going over that bridge, you could see on both sides the destruction that had taken place. It was scary.
But you are not the first time in Asia. You were in China. Even compared to the China where you were, how was it? Was it still more terrible than the China, right, at the time?
Well, also, I grew up in central China, and the Japanese did never come so far into the country where we stayed, although they bombed us. So I did not see such destructions as in Korea.
What were you thinking? How did you feel about it when you saw the Korea, Seoul city, completely destroyed and ruined?
Well, you know, we thought here it's a lot of reason to be here to help, because at that time the single Korean were very, very depressed, and and had absolutely nothing. So I think that being there with the hospital was quite a good thing. And as soon as the war, the fighting stopped, Normash also took civilian Korean patients.
Yes. So from Gimpo, you went up to Dongducheon or Uijeongbu? Where were you?
Yes, Uijeongbu.
Uijeongbu.
Yeah.
And tell me about the daily routine in Normash in Uijeongbu. What did you do? What time did you wake up? Where did you sleep? What did you eat? What was your duties? And how long? And then what? Tell me the typical day of Normash operation as a medical nurse.
You know, the boys were placed in 10 beds, tents. And we started the day normally at 8 o'clock and worked until 6 o'clock in the hospital. We had lunch at 12, and we had a dinner at 6 or 6:30 in the afternoon. We had agreements with the Americans, so the Norwegian MASH bought American rations. So we had very good food and enough food. And the camp had the hospital facilities, of course, but we had also a club for the officer and a club for the enlisted men. So we had good social relations.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
What about the operation? What did you do? What kind of work actually you did as a male nurse? Did you assist the doctors in the operation table, or what was your duty? What did you do medically?
We had in this post-op tent. It was nurses, ladies, who are the bosses, and the male nurses, as me, we were working on direct orders from the female nurses. They were experienced, grown up. I was 22 years old, and they were from 30 upwards.
Yeah.
But I worked as a male nurse only for 2-3 months, you know. So most of the time I was in the headquarters.
Do you remember any patient, or do you remember any episode during your work in MASH unit?
Thinking back, I think the worst things were to see patients coming in. They have lost a leg or an arm, and they were shouting of pain, with pain. That made a very good, very impression on us. And we gave them morphine and the like to ease the pain, but it was quite a lot to see. Yes.
Mm. Must have been very difficult to observe those painful moments of those people, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have you thought that, why am I here? What the hell am I doing here? Have you thought about that?
Right here now?
No, in Normesh, in Korea.
You know, well, no. I was so excited of being there, and with all I was learning every day, medical ways and administration, and with very intelligent, good people, because you can say all the people without me were educated, very intelligent people. So it was very educational for me to be together with them. Mm-hmm. I admire most of them very much.
Did you have a chance to see Lucy's father, Bernard Paus, Dr. Paus?
Dr. Paus was head surgeon when I came there, and but you know, when you are a private, and he was second in command, so he was lieutenant colonel. Mm. So it was a very big difference, you know.
Were there any nurses, female nurses, that were married at the time? Were they all single, or what happened?
Most of them, I think all of them were single.
Single.
Yeah.
How many nurses and how many doctors do you remember when you were there?
Well, I think maybe 20 doctors and 25 nurses. Mm.
And how was their spirit? I mean, you had to treat so many wounded soldiers every day, right?
Yeah.
Must have been really hard. How was it? I mean, tell me about those.
Well, you know, they were grateful for the help they were receiving. So it was a good relation between the patients and us that were serving them, you know. Mm-hmm. So, but you know, all the Americans and English and Australians that were in the hospital, they were transferred after they have been operated, maybe 3-4 days afterwards, to hospitals more south, because we were so near the 38 parallel, near the border, that we at all times must have capacity to receive new patients. That's why we didn't get long-term knowledge of each patient.
I see. Where did you sleep? Was it tent, or where was it?
It was only tents.
Only tents.
Yeah.
Okay. How often were you able to take a shower?
We had a shower tent. We could have a shower 2 or 3 days a week.
2 or 3 times a week?
Yes.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yes.
I have interviewed so many soldiers who never been into shower facility for like a month.
we were prioritized, because we were working with patients. We had to be clean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Were there any shortage of medicines or medical equipments and so on?
Pardon?
Were there any shortage of medicines and medical equipments and so on?
Well, also we had sometimes it were extraordinary medicine that were needed, which we did not have. And then we could call the American and they could send the medicine with a helicopter. We had a helicopter landing facility at the hospital.
Mm-hmm. What about during the winter? And wasn't it too cold? Did you have a stove, or how did you heat the whole thing?
The tents were kept warm during winter time with oil. We were firing with oil.
But what about summer? You didn't have air conditioning there.
No, it was quite hot during summertime,
Mm-hmm. Any doctor or any nurse that you remember with some kind of story that you want to share with us?
You have probably heard that I got engaged with one of the nurses, and
there at the time.
And I after coming home to Norway, we got married, and we got 3 children together, and were married for 13 years when we divorced.
What a story!
Yes.
How did you? What was her name?
Her name.
Yeah.
Gerd Christiansen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you liked each other there in Normesh in Korea.
Yes.
Wow, everybody must be very jealous about you.
Well, there were other people also. I think you have interviewed one that married one of the Korean nurses. We had also Korean nurses there. I think maybe you interviewed him yesterday, Bakke.
Bakke?
Yes.
I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
Yeah. He married a Korean nurse.
Very good. Were there any Korean busboy who was cleaning and doing some chores in your tent?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Tell me about them.
We had Korean helpers, both in cleaning and in washing, and also we had Korean guards working day and night to watch the camp from being attacked.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to go around the area in Korea, Seoul, visiting Seoul, or going to Tokyo and things like that, R&R?
Yes, the contract all the participants got was for 6 months.
Yeah.
So it was not much free time. But since I stayed there 3 periods, I got 1 week in Busan as a vacation, and then I stayed with the Swedish hospital there.
How was it?
Oh, it was interesting because Sweden and Norway were working with in a different way. the Swedes were working with
Civilians.
and the Norwegians were working primarily with military people.
And you were right up there in the front line. Swedish were in Busan.
Yes.
So it was quite different kind of operation.
Yes, I think I used 8 hours by train at that time. My wife and I, we have been to Busan in 1980s, and I think it took 4 hours.
Yeah.
So during my visit in Busan, we had also a visit to the I think to the north side of the peninsula, and this was in April with the cherry blossoms, and it was wonderfully beautiful.
Yeah. Kimhae.
Yes.
Yes. When was the last time you've been to Korea?
It was in 90... Når var vi der sist?
2010?
I think in 2012.
12.
Yes.
And you were there in 1988 in
Yes.
Korea.
Yes, I was, you know, when I was appointed director of the Helly Hansen company in Hong Kong, I went to Korea many times to make business with the Korean companies.
Ah, what kind of companies did you work?
Well, there were companies making fabrics, and it was companies that had sewers, were making clothing, and they had also departments in Bangladesh and several places in Asia.
So when you were in Korea 2012 with your wife?
Yes. You see, that is one of the things that has surprised me and made me very happy, that the Koreans has been very grateful for us being there during the war. So they have invited the veterans to come to Korea, and we were also allowed to bring with us our spouses. So Berit has been there, I think, 3 or 4 times.
That's great.
Yes.
So that's the Revisit program, Korea Revisit program, run by Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, MPVA.
Yes.
So my question is, you saw Korea in 1953.
Yes.
You stayed there more than 6 months, and you went back to Korea many times. Tell Norwegian elementary school who will listen this interview, okay? How was it Korea in 1953, and how it's been changed in 2012 when you were there? Tell me the details.
It's like night and day. It's impossible to compare. It was a ruined country, and now it is like coming to New York or Shanghai. You know, it's a fantastic development, and the people has changed the attitude. They were like this in 1953. Now there are fighting spirit in every way you can imagine. No, it is almost impossible to describe how that development in South Korea come. Yeah, I think I have worked in Korea, in Japan, in China, and I visited Singapore and several other Asian countries, but none of them can show a development like South Korea. It's incredible. And it's still developing. And today, it's, I think, it's number 4 or 5 economical best equipped countries in the world.
The rank of overall Korean economy is 11th, number 11. But by 2030, the IMF and the Economic Institute, they're working with the IMF, saying that it's going to be number 7, ahead of France, but right behind UK.
Yes, that's just imagine. It's for those that have seen Korea in 1953 and see it today, you can hardly believe. As I mentioned to you, in 1953 there was one bridge over the Han River in Seoul.
Yes.
Now I think it's 16.
No, more than 20.
More than 20.
So when I was in Korea with the Korean War veterans, we were in the bus running along the highway of Han River,
Yes.
and this veteran was doing this, counting with their
Yeah.
fingers,
Yeah.
and he was crying
Yes.
right beside me. So I was asking, "What are you counting, and why are you crying?" He said, "I'm counting the number of bridges."
Yes.
So I told him, "How many did you count?" "I'm counting 20.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he was just crying because he couldn't believe that so much progress has been made since they left, you know.
And I think also the education level in South Korea is so impressive that and that has paid off for South Korea.
But when you left in 1954, did you leave Korea?
I left Hong Kong in 1950.
No. From Korea. When did you leave?
When I was attached to Korea, the Normash, I left Haneda Airport in December 1954. You are correct.
Okay.
1954.
But from Korea, when did you leave from Korea?
Well, you know, when I was liaison officer in Tokyo, I went back and forth to the camp. So exactly which date was the last time, I can't remember.
When you left Korea, Japan, had you ever thought that Korea would become like this today? No.
I think it's impossible to imagine this development.
Korea became one of the largest shipbuilders in the world.
Yes.
And you are the one who are actually ordering a lot of, more than 50% of the whole ship orders from Norway has been to Korea.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. and they are one of the best customers to Korea for building ships. So you have developed knowledge at the highest level, and you can just mention TV, cameras, and electronic equipment. it's incredible. You can't understand it. It's just developed so quickly.
But the problem is that Korean War has been known as forgotten war, and if in America, 1.8 million soldiers came from the United States to fight in the Korean theater. 1.8 million, 37,000 US soldiers were killed. 2 soldiers from Norway were killed there during the war. They don't teach. They don't talk about Korean War, and it become forgotten war. I don't think Korean War is also common kind of popular items here in history class in Norway either. Why is it?
I can't give you a good answer to that, because there are so much news about so many things for the time being, about many countries, and you can't comprehend how to understand this, I think.
So that's why we are doing this.
Yes.
First of all, we need to preserve your memory as soon as possible for many, many others. I wish that we can reach out to more veterans here in Norway. And it's not just preserving your memory, but we need to use it in the classroom, in the history classroom, so that they can learn about what Norwegian young men and women did for the country that they never knew before. And something very good came out of it. Since you are Christian, I want to talk about this. If you read John chapter 1, 46, these are the stories where the disciples of Jesus was introducing to their friends about Jesus. And Philip was introducing Jesus to Nathanael, who was meditating under the fig tree. And he said, there are rabbis from Nazareth. And do you know how Nathanael replied back to Philip?
No.
He said that what good can come out of Nazareth? Nathanael said, because Nazareth, the northern Israel, was Gentile. And Orthodox Jews didn't see them as a good people because they believe different gods, right?
Yes.
So that's what John chapter 1, 46 says. What good can come out of Nazareth? Out of Nazareth, Jesus came out of it, right? And the country you saw in 1953 and 52 by different Normish people was just like a Nazareth. Nothing good at the time, right?
No. Yes.
But out of 1953 Korea, now we have a Republic of Korea, 11th largest economy in the world and very democratic society. Is it good use of biblical text? What good can come out of 1953 South Korea? I've been using that.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Something good came out of your service. A lot of different sacrifices been made, and there are something good came out of it. So that's the things that we want to be able to share with our young generations about the Korean War. It's not just about the war, but something good came out of it. Your service.
I don't know, do you know that we have a Korean veteran organization, and we are having meetings together in November every year where we are meeting each other?
Yes.
And we have invited the Korean ambassador and family to this gathering.
Yes.
But as you know, I was one of the youngest going to Normarsh, and now I am 87, and many of us are now dying away, you know. So we are getting less and less veterans coming to this meeting. Mm-hmm. And that's That's sad.
Yes. But everybody is numbered, so nobody live forever.
No, right.
But important thing is, what are we going to do about your legacy? You know, if we do not do this way, and if we do not engage with our own history teachers, young generations will never have a chance to learn about it, right? Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
Yep.
And I envy you, because we should have somebody like you doing the same thing for the Norwegians, because the Norwegians that were fighting during Second World War, they are either already dead or about to die, and their history hasn't come out in the right way.
Absolutely. That's why we are doing this. And I'm going to do work with the Historical Association here in Norway. I send an email to him, Thomas Hagen, and I'm going to work with Lucy. And if you can work with us together, I want to bring history teachers in Norway together and ask them to write about the book you already published.
Yeah,
you have already many pictures there, right?
Fantastic.
And we can use this interview, your direct witness. You thought that Korea would not become like this today when you were there. Now we have Korea. So all these things can be put into a curricular resources book that I published, my foundation published there in that I showed you, right?
Yes.
So we're going to do that. I want to do that.
That's good.
So
That's
if you can be part of this thing, okay? And Ambassador Nam also recognized the importance of this doing. So we can put together Historical Association, Korean Embassy, and then Norwegian and Korean Friendship Association led by Lucy, and also Korean War Veterans Association here, and then teachers. We can put this together. My foundation has some funding. If Norwegian teachers wants to do it, I have a funding to help those things. We can pay for these things. You know, we spent $100,000 for that to produce that book.
Wow.
We hired teachers, we pay them, we ask them to watch this interview, analyze that, and then they are the professional writers of their own lesson plan. They know how to do this, right? I am political scientist, and I've been teaching about the Korean War, but I am not the right person to write those lesson plans because I don't understand the middle school and high school students, right? Teachers have a better knowledge and better idea how to write the lesson plan so that they can use it tomorrow. That's what we want to do. So if you agree with that cause, and
absolutely,
I'm going to put together this task, but I need help from Norwegian society here, and I think we can do it because I have already products. You know, I published it with the biggest teachers association in the United States. It's a National Council for Social Studies. I have been doing this, and I also signed the contract with the United Kingdom.
Oh.
Yeah, so we already signed the contract. We're going to pay, money there. And already they chose 10 teachers in the UK who is going to write about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I've been doing this. I know how to do it. So I just need some kind of people who can put together these things in Norway here. Then I can come back and talk about it.
So you need support. Yeah.
In terms of organizing people together, historical association and history teachers in the high school and middle school.
I see.
Yeah, then I think we can do it. Maybe in 1 year.
I see.
I know how to do this because I've been doing it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that I can work with Norway to produce this and then you know about the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway put together, plan to establish the National Medical Center in Korea.
Yes.
Have you involved in that?
No.
No?
But I have visited the place.
So when you visited the National Medical Center in Korea, right?
Yes,
What-
two times.
How was it? What did you think about it?
It was interesting, but I think that we knew very little about it. We were not informed.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We can talk about that too in the curriculum book. We can research about it, who were there, how did it, who paid the money, and how many patients, what kind of patients, how it's been developing. And, you know, it's a good work among 3 Scandinavian countries.
Yes, yes.
We need to talk about that. We need to teach those good things.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that, and this is something when North Korea and South Korea comes together one day, then they need even more assistance, maybe by small countries like Norway.
You are not small. You are one of the, you know, your GMP and GDP is pretty good. You have the biggest national fund in the world.
Yeah, well, as long as it lasts. Yeah.
I mean, I went to Balestrand, Bergen, Midal, Flom. It's a beautiful country. You are blessed with the fjord and clean waters.
Also, you have seen it.
Oh yeah, I love Viking. I watched 3 times.
I see. I didn't know that. But Professor, I did not know whether I should prepare something when I was going to talk with you. So I brought with me my catalog of photos from my time in Korea. Would you like to?
Absolutely. So those are the pictures that you took, or
Yes.
did you have a camera at the time?
Yes, a very simple one,
And
as you can see.
and you developed in Japan, right? You sent the film to Japan.
Yes. And you can see all are very gray, and because I did not have a color camera at that time.
Oh, yeah, that's a black and white.
Yeah.
And
Do you know him? And I was made his adjutant during the visit. So I have been I have taken this picture.
you took this picture.
I have met President Sommernes.
I see.
Yeah.
That's quite prestigious. What do you think is the importance of the Korean War and legacy of your work as Normesh member? What is the importance and what is the legacy of Korean War and your work? Don't be shy.
No, but you know, I think that Norway and Norwegians have been offered too much gratitude for our participation. We don't deserve all this, and I must say the times that the Korean government have invited us veterans to come to Korea, it's so impressive, and I'm a little bit shy that we have accepted it because it was actually too much.
It's not too much, never.
So,
That's very nice of you to say, but because of your treatment, 90,000 people were treated, and among them, 33%, over 30% was Korean people. I mean, how can we thank you back?
but I think that Trygve Lie was the one Norwegian that in connection with Korea deserves to be remembered, because he was the one that got Norway to participate.
You mean the Secretary General?
Secretary General in United Nations.
Trygve Lie? Yeah, the Norwegian Secretary General of United Nations.
Yes.
Yes. Next year will be 70th anniversary of the breakout of the Korean War, and never finished yet. We are still technically at war.
Yes.
Do you know any war that lasted more than 70 years after the official ceasefire?
Oh.
It's so ridiculous.
Yes.
What do you think about this? How can we end this?
I think how can you, for so many years, technically stay at war but not fighting? Because you are, I think, in the bottom of all this, North and South wishes to get together.
Yes. But we don't know how, because China doesn't want us to be united. Russia doesn't either. Japan never wants us to be reunited, because when we reunited, it's going to be bigger than before. They don't want it. US doesn't want to do anything about it either. Nobody wants to do it. We are very small fish among the whales.
Yes, that's possibly true. But you are very clever, and you are demonstrating how clever you are with all things that you are doing. That is the most impressive thing for Korea, South Korea right now, I think. It impresses the whole world.
Thank you. Do you have any special message to the Korean people and Korean government about next year's 70th anniversary of the war that you were part of it? What would you say to the Korean people?
Who am I, a little person in Norway, to give advice to a country like Korea? That would be completely wrong.
Any message or any?
I wish all the best for Korea. I have Korean friends, and I always enjoyed going to Korea. I don't know how many times I've been there, but it's quite a few times. And I am now 87. I don't know if I may come there again, but if my health is okay, I would like to go there when North and South Korea is come together.
That's beautiful.